So I made the mistake of reading through the comment section of video compilation where I reacted to what I found under that video. It's an AI generated channel where I'm guessing they just absorb other creators' content and they make compilations. That's why I didn't link it. If you stumble upon it, then you stumble upon it. I don't like supporting AI. But some of the comments disappoint me because they are comments that remind me of the comments I have gotten in here over the years. And the reason I say they disappoint me, it's because some people just legit do not want to recognize us as human beings deserving of respect. And while I do agree that sometimes how the worker reacts to something might make it a little worse, I don't like it when we are dismissed and we are told that it is us having issues to where we're not qualified to work at customer service and we don't need to be working in the customer facing section. You're telling me that you're justifying the customer's behavioral issues that are legit issues, and instead you are trying to say that I, as a worker, am the issue for telling you about how it makes me feel, but while I'm at my job, I actually deal with it gracefully. I don't understand. These people must be privileged people who have never had the need to work in this environment. And maybe if you have worked in this environment, you didn't have to fear losing the job because maybe you come from a family of money, or maybe you know that a better career awaits you because you're in school waiting to finish it, or maybe you can leave at any time and you have a bank account already that's looking good or something. But only someone who is disconnected with this, because this doesn't mean a lot to you, like it might mean a lot to the rest of us who rely on this, then only someone like you who will be at this job but not really integrating yourself into it, not really thinking about it deeply and critically, can think like that. Some of the comments in here are: the other day I was cleaning my filthy belt, had it sprayed down, quite obviously in the middle of cleaning it, and some Darren comes up. I tell him, just a moment, sir. He ignores me and sets his crap on the part I'm trying to clean. Seriously, dude? And yes, that is true. This, I have gotten it in different forms as well. One version of this that I have encountered is, that's wet. And you notice how evenly wet it is. It's the kind of wet that is not filthy wet. It's, my belt is so dark from how clean it is that it could blind you if black had a shiny effect to its color. Like if it radiated light, it would blind you. And I'll have people who will be like, well, do you have something to dry it? And I'm like, just give it a couple seconds. It'll dry pretty quickly. And then they'll be like, well, I don't want to set it there while it's wet. And I'm like, it's okay. Just give it a second, give it a minute. And the reason I want to give it a minute is because the kind of sanitizer we use, it needs the minute for it to, I guess, work properly. And by a minute, usually by the time they come up, it's already been like 45 seconds. So I'm like, if you give it 15 more seconds, you'll see that it'll dry up. And even if I were to dry it up and disrupt the agent, I do it more for y'all than for me, because ultimately when I check out, I never let my items touch any surfaces. It's I scan, I bag, I scan, I bag when I'm shopping for myself. But for y'all, I mean, I'm trying to be courteous, but for some reason, there are some people who like to really have control and power over you. One time I had this old couple going like, it's really wet, you need to clean this belt. And I'm like, I literally just cleaned it, that's why it's wet. And they were like, well, I didn't know. And that was back in those days when I was telling y'all, and I made a literal video called, well, I didn't know. And I'm like, you people who say, well, I didn't know, are a fine example of why I say that you need to learn how to shut the fuck up. The less you comment on, the better. Because sometimes when you open your mouth and you don't have the full context of a situation, all you're doing is embarrassing yourself. And then you want to get mad at me for embarrassing yourself when all you had to do was be quiet. I swear, customers walk in the store and their brain out of their skills and their brains out of their skills, losing all forms of common sense and critical thinking. I'm guessing he means their brains run out of their skills or expel out their skills. It'd be feeling like that sometimes. Retail work is not for adults. These are just for teens as their first job. But see, this is the thing. Even if you are a teen, as a teen, you don't deserve to be put down because you are a teen, because you are a young person. That is the point here. This kind of behavior that I have been describing for years now, this has been happening to me since forever, since my first day working there. And then you mean to tell me that, say, if for some reason a retired person who had to unretire to come back to work to make money, they choose retail to work at as part-timers, 4-hour shifts, you mean to tell me that it is perfectly acceptable for an older person to be subjected to this type of thing? You mean to tell me that it is acceptable for customers to behave this way toward elders? If you're going to make this an age thing, that is a problem. This shouldn't be about how old you are and the position in life and stuff. For some people, like myself, for example, this is all the work I am going to know in my life. And you are telling me that I deserve everything that's coming to me. And let me tell you, if I'm experiencing this in retail, I'm experiencing this anywhere I go that I'm facing customers. And I don't think you should be aspiring continuously to just be in management, because not everybody wants to be in management. I don't want to be in management. And if we take this and we take it somewhere else, we have this big, beautiful body cam footage that we're supplied with online. You see law enforcement and you celebrate them when they take down these criminals, right? These criminals are usually acting all rowdy, riled up. They remind me of some of the clowns I be seeing in customer service. Why does the cop get celebration, but why do I not get celebration when I deal with this gracefully, keep my cool, and I simply relay to you the story of what it happened? How am I different from the cop who maybe goes home to tell his family or her family about what happened in their day, and they describe some of their incidents, and then they get celebrated for it, they get praised for it? When I come home to tell my stories, usually I get praised for it, unless I'm telling a story in which I made a mistake. And I'm like, well, this is how I messed up, but this is how I learned, and this is how I corrected it. This is how I'm going to be better moving forward. But that's what I'm saying. Cops get disrespected all the time. It's difficult. They accept that, I guess it's part of the job. They all say they wish they didn't have to deal with that. And especially for the suspect, it would work out better for them if they behaved better, but because they don't, they aggravate their situation. We may be doing different jobs, different industries, completely unrelated matters, but the core, the basic element of it remains true. People need to stop being fucking rude. You need to learn to behave better. You need to learn to be mindful of what you say. You need to learn to be mindful of your communication skills. That is the point. Me in retail versus the cop versus the judge versus the teacher versus everybody else. We're all in this together. We all deal with people face to face. And we like to share how you people make yourselves have a hard time, and how it's your fault, and how you brought this on yourself, and how you need to behave instead to obtain better results. Why is that difficult to grasp? Because I have a different job title and I get paid less? What? Stop being impressed by positions. Behavioral issues in here are behavioral issues in Mars. If we were to see this behavior in Mars, learn to comport yourself. None of these people should be in retail or customer service. They need to find a job where you don't interact with people. Let me see the comments this person has received. Or perhaps people could learn how to behave decently. Exactly. I'm sorry, but have you worked in retail? If not, then you really cannot understand the depths of stupidity, entitlement, and deranged behavior that comes with some of these individuals. Some are bad enough that even one can 100% ruin what was otherwise a decent day in retail. If you have worked in retail, I apologize for any assumptions made, and I would also like to know where you worked to have such a good opinion of retail work, because I would like to apply there. Did you actually listen to what these workers were saying? Yes, and this is just retail workers venting about customers, something everyone does when they encounter an individual who would act in a similar way to the individuals in the stories being told in the video. Not being rude, but being on your feet 6, 7, 8, or even 9+ hours while also having to deal with entitled less than average intelligence, etc. People for most of those hours you're working can, and more often than not, negatively impact your mood. Fortunately, I'm beyond the point where customers impact my mood because I accept that they're wrong. I accept it's not something I did. What helped me get there is that I had very good coaching. I was encouraged and I was even protected in a lot of cases. I'll never forget my supervisors who stood there with me and backed me up, because now that legacy that they left, that impact they had on me, now, despite me not having their job title of supervisor, I have been able to stand with my new supervisors and back them up as they obtain experience in their role. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to show you what someone in your position did for me that meant a lot for me, and this is why. Or alternatively, I'll stand there with another fellow cashier. I'll be the presence that I had back during my formative time, and I will do that because I know the impact it has, the difference it makes. And I think that is something that needs to be shared as well. The impact that whenever you get supported, whenever you get backed up, especially by folks in management, the amazing feeling it gives you. Customers are so stupid and inconsiderate, but they make for great break room stories. They sure do. I don't understand why all of these retail workers are upset with customers. I retired from a career in HR 3 years ago and literally ran to apply for some part-time positions in retail. I love retail. I love my customers. In 3 years, I've only had one customer who was nasty, and she ended up apologizing for being rude. Maybe don't call your customers colonizers. Maybe don't bitch about working inside when some of us are just happy to have jobs. Individuals like this, I don't particularly like dismissing them, but I think it also depends on where you are in retail. Are you in a gas station? Are you in a grocery store? Are you in a department store, like, say, for clothes? Is this for a shoe department? Is this for, say, an auto zone, something like that? It is really hard for you to run into difficult characters depending on where you are, because there are some places that I cannot tell you. I have heard them having bad stories, bad interactions. But also, where are you? Are you in a rural town that only sees maybe like 20 people a day? Or are you in a suburb who encounters a little over 1,000 people a day? It really depends. I wouldn't say that this positive experience this person has is because that is the way that retail is going to go for you everywhere you go. Even I, with my impeccable customer service, still get assholes, and that's when I learned that I have to dial back on some of the things I was trying to do, trying to say. I was trying to be that really hospitable person who satisfies everybody, entertains everybody. But then I realized that it can be a bad thing. It can be a very harmful, dangerous thing. And that's when I became what I describe an NPC cashier, which is just speak the necessary, maintain my same tone, composure, no matter what they're saying, and keep it at that. There is work that needs to be done on the customer's part, so stop trying to dismiss workers. I actually love working in retail. I actually personally love working in retail too. To me, like I have said before, and I will say it again, it is not a burden to have a place to show up at. And I also know that the place I'm at, I may have a day in which I happen to help someone in a different way. I have helped disabled folks make it out to their vehicle and load the stuff up for them and I have to bring back their electric cart. Or sometimes there is this customer who has a really ginormous order and they have two shopping carts to push, and I will shut down my register and push the cart out for them. Little things like that. There are special circumstances on certain days that it helps me see how there's more to my job than just staying glued at a register. And the good thing is that in recent years, management has become more lax about that, and they genuinely give you the freedom to help customers more proactively. You have that choice of whether you want to get involved in something or not. And if you don't want to get involved with something, we will find someone to get involved with that. If for some reason there's a customer who cannot lift something heavy, but I'm not confident myself about my ability to pick up something heavy, I have the power of walking up to someone who I know will have the power to lift this heavy thing, and I'll be like, can you trade spots with me? I don't think I can handle this. And they'll do it because we're people and people help other people. Sometimes I think these people are just lonely and want someone to talk to. I help them for a few minutes, then say, I have to finish my tasks. This is a very good move, actually. There is a loneliness epidemic, as they describe it, and I totally 100% believe it, because there are a lot of folks I see every day who are by themselves, and maybe they share at some point that they live alone. It's usually older people, maybe their spouses have passed on, or maybe their kids live in a different state and they have been by themselves, as in they didn't have a relationship with the parent of their kids, or maybe they ended up splitting up, something like that. The thing of this whole loneliness thing is that I want to be careful with that. I will always be careful about that, because sure, you're bonding with me, you're talking to me, but I wouldn't want for that to lead to a misunderstanding. Just because I am interacting with you in retail, it doesn't mean that I'm going to be open to hugging you. Like some people I know, they haven't been touched in years maybe, and I can understand how that would be a detriment for their health, but I don't think that it should be my obligation to allow you to do that. And I think my boundaries need to be respected. And with bonding, at some point, there is some kind of familiarity that takes place. And then that may prompt somebody to want to try to deepen that contact. Let it be physically, a little casually, like with a hug or something. Or maybe eventually they might ask for your phone number, or they may slip phone number, or maybe they'll start asking which days you're working, and I'm like, maybe you don't have any evil intentions, but when that starts, I feel like it's making it unfair on me, because now this person may create a bias. If this person doesn't help me, I don't want anybody to help me. And that could also lead to other kinds of misunderstandings. Maybe we should do like they do in the Netherlands. I think in the Netherlands they have like, I don't know if every store does this or if it's just one special store that does this, but they open up a lane that's designated for lonely people. And I think it is a great initiative at addressing the loneliness epidemic, and how it is a detriment for people's minds, and how this could help them, this could make a difference. I want to make a difference, but I'm also saying that it shouldn't come at the expense of my comfort, at the expense of my boundaries. And there are some people who I simply do not want to get involved with any further than professionally. My customers, I have the potential of making friends with them or being friends with them if we appropriately introduce each other. Say maybe a coworker is friends with this customer I'm helping, I am introduced, and maybe at some point we go out, I may hang out with this coworker and I meet them there. It's like, oh, I've had you coming through my line before and you introduced me, something like that. Like, I recognize you. That helps me with my barrier. But to just randomly run into people and just start to like chat it up with them and have like no boundaries established. I don't like that. I have to have my guard up. It's just the way I am. Everyone should work in retail or restaurants so they know how to act in public. And I can agree with this comment. Like I have said before, this is about forging your character. If you avoid serving, your character will never be good. And the reason I put it like that is because even if you are a good person and behave well, but you have never actually served because you have had the privilege of not having to do things for others or take orders from others or something like that, your character is still missing development. Because, say, if you were to run into someone who is like these people, maybe your reaction will be you'll feel intimidated by them. You'll feel agitated by them, or maybe you will literally fear for your life because you're not used to someone legit yelling at you or losing their shit, something like that. You have been too overprotected. Once you're out there in public serving and you have no control over that landscape, but you can get through it, that is how you develop character. It's literal basic manners and common decency. I do not miss retail. I know that if I were to miss retail, I wouldn't miss it. But I think what I would miss is the camaraderie that I have established. I know that I can bond my way up with my coworkers anywhere I go. But in this particular place, it would be a little bit different because these are people I have worked with for years. And I like that these people have known me for years to where they know things about me, but they can also talk about me. And these people can describe me better in the present than my own family can. And that is something that I'm not proud of or happy with, to be honest with you. It kind of disappoints me. But I'm grateful that these people exist because there's someone out there who would be able to validate my stories. I don't need the validation, but it's good that someone else has witnessed the reputation that I have established for myself. Some of these people will be able to tell that I can get spitting angry. Some people will be able to tell you that I can be quite dismissive. Some people will be able to tell you that I will be absolutely reliable. Some people will tell you that I have schedule conflicts sometimes. All those little details, all those nuances. But sometimes I feel like all you hear about some people is, oh, they used to suck at their job. Or, oh, they used to be amazing. I love them. What about them, though? Because there's no one who's perfect. Maybe they're perfect at the job, but their home life was a wreck. Everybody could tell what kind of performer I was. It's not like I was trading one for the other. My performance at work is my performance at home, and is my performance in my other personal matters and ventures. The consistency, pretty much. And it's just nice that I can tell you about my home life the same way that my boyfriend, whenever he's here, can, and my mom can tell you as well. Then there is someone who can talk about my work life. And then the places I shop at, the places I pick up food from, they can tell you about me as well. See what I mean? And those are people who have known about me for years. Even if they don't know me for years, they have known about me, and they can tell you that I'll be consistent with my behavior. 3 minutes in and I'm blown away at the lack of self-respect. I agree that customers can come in bad moods, entitled attitudes, disrespectful, etc. But most times you can solve a customer's problem faster than being narcissistic and victimized. If you can, you should save time and stress, and these opportunities to create solutions can get noticed by someone who appreciates those skills. Rather than lowering yourself to the negative situation, positive, helpful, friendly, these will pass the time much faster and you'll feel much better. That is the thing. We're expressing ourselves not because we're not positive, helpful, or friendly the moment we're dealing with this clown. The problem is how this clown goes about requesting our assistance. They're not requesting, they're demanding. They're not communicating, they are yelling, or in some cases, threatening. Does that not worry you? We need to keep these people in check. You cannot be going to places, acting however you want, demanding service, but treating people like crap. That is the point. You gotta be mindful of how you go about those things. Even if you end up with the same result, which is you will be served and have your problem resolved, how we got to that though matters. We cannot just continue to lower ourselves, dismiss our feelings, because ultimately you get to punch out and after that you can let it go. Sure, we can let it go, but you also have to understand that those things have consequences down the line. It's no different from if you're an athlete. Let's say that you're one of those fighters. Sure, you're fighting and then you get to go home and rest and stuff, but those injuries that you have obtained from this fight, down the line they're going to show back up. So these emotional and mental injuries that I have faced in retail, in the future, they may come back to alter my behavior in a certain way, because this is shit that it's like a garden. In my mind, this is what I'm planting in my mind. The seeds that are being planted in my mind. This can cause me to have trust issues. This can cause me to become isolated. This can make it difficult for me to open up about my challenges. This will make it to where I will be more selfish with my attitude, like say my investment, positivism, eagerness to help and shit. I will reserve that only for privileged people. I'm already there. And the reason I got there is from all the shit that I received over the years. Again, it matters. Be nice as customer. Retail workers do a hard job. Choose your own item unless you can't find it. Hard to hear all of these stories. Thanks for sharing. The amount of people who don't know how to pay with their card is worrying. Yes, that one is one of the most annoying ones I see in the day. And sometimes it comes down to you either not listening to how I'm prompting you, how the machine works, or it's your own frustration and desperation of you're moving without putting thought into your movement. Stop moving, stop talking, and think about what you're doing. Just stop. I've worked in retail and discovered the problem with that profession. People, in all caps. And I agree. Like I have said before, I like my job. It's not a burden, but the problem is the people when they don't know how to people. When you have those behavioral issues and the entitlement and all that, we cannot entertain that. But unfortunately, in our positions, in our jobs, it is not our job to rectify that or correct that. We have to, in a sense, endure it and take it, and that is not healthy. Then this person is going to go to the next store, behave the same way because they know they're not going to face any repercussions. The only thing that could make their behavior change or shake them up a little bit is severe things, like maybe you get arrested, maybe you get punched in the face, or maybe at home you get spanked. I don't know, something like that. It shouldn't have to come to that extreme. But because all we can do is not react to them, us not reacting to them, because otherwise we get in trouble if we try to be the corrective figure in their lives, then this behavior doesn't have an opportunity to mend, to be mended. That is the problem. This one's a good one. Someone goes, the customer who said no tag, therefore it must be free. This person did not hesitate to tell them, yeah, it can be, and it's called theft. The friend that was with the person laughed, but she can tell that this person felt very embarrassed. That was a very good response. And I'm pretty sure that after this person said that, it's very possible this person either went around saying, one time I was taught a lesson of how I said, oh, if it doesn't have a tag, it is free, and then it would be called theft. And I never thought about that. It taught me to stop saying that. Or maybe after that, they never said it again. Yes, entitlement has risen exponentially since 2020. And like I have said before, I don't know what the grand planet-wide illness did to people. There are studies of how people age by like 10 years or so after this whole thing. But I don't remember it being this bad before 2020. And then after 2020, that's when I felt the weight of the job. I have felt more unsafe during these times than I did at any other time previously. This is a good point. It's insane how inconsiderate customers can be. Then you see their children reflecting the same behavior and know the cycle will continue. Again, that's why these people, in an ideal world, we could intervene and keep their behavior in check. But instead, we would be punished. Never did retail, and this here is why. You all have my deepest respect and sympathy. See, some people have actively avoided this. And when you actively avoid this, you may be missing out on an opportunity to forge your character. And sometimes I think I'm glad that you have the privilege of not being subjected to these things, because I mean, some people will handle it well, some people will be broken by this, but it is a learning opportunity. And I just dislike how it gets dismissed as this is not important because it's entry level for teenagers. And in an ideal world, you would go to school, keep going to school, and after school go straight into what you went to school for. But at the same time, if you do that, then because you missed out on these basic skills, you will be that adult we see who you have all the masters and PhDs in the world, but you don't know how to work your phone, you don't know how to work your credit card, you don't know how to get a refund, you just don't know anything about how a store operates. And I think that's bad, especially if going grocery shopping or shopping in general is a big part of your existence. You should at the very least understand how some basics work. And some people have no idea about that because you never experienced being there. That's what these jobs used to do. These jobs used to kind of serve as a preliminary guide at how to be an adult, if you ask me. Well, that's gonna be it, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time.